From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. A production of iHeartRadio.
Hello, welcome back to the show. My name is Matt.
My name is Noel.
They call me Ben. We're joined as always with our super producer, Dylan the Tennessee Pal Fagan. Most importantly, you are here. That makes this the stuff they don't want you to know. And we hope that your pets are listening in as well. In tonight's conversation, we're getting to something that is going to be familiar to all pet owners and animal lovers in the crowd. It's the idea that you might have a favorite pet and you feel that, oh my gosh, this pet gets me. We have a genuine bond. I don't just interact with this dog or this cat or this parrot. We wholeheartedly communicate with and understand each other on a deep level. Have you guys ever had that feeling with an animal, a furry, scaly, or feathered friend?
I'm starting to feel it with my buddy Apollo. He's very young, still less than a year old, but I don't know, I feel like we get each other. And it's a new phase for me, having that kind of connection with an animal. I've mainly had cats in the past, and I don't feel like it's possible to connect with cats on that level. Ben, you may disagree. I just feel like they're kind of weird aliens, and they don't literally or figuratively speak the same language as we do.
I don't know, man. My cat Smokey really got me.
That's cool.
I think
maybe
so.
It's a cat-to-cat situation.
It is. I would say it's cat to cat, it's person to person, and cats, as we're going to find, are a really interesting break in the narrative of domestication. Mm-hmm. You know, as we always say, they domesticated themselves.
And I saw recently a study, I need to look deeper into it, but I've seen it in a few places. Evolutionarily, apparently they're like xenomorph levels of the perfect organism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they're scary.
Yeah. Just like how alligators and crocodiles got to a certain point of evolution and said, we figured it out. We're good. We'll just continue. And I don't know if you guys have seen clips of people befriending gators. It's amazing. Also, don't try it at home. Yeah, but I love that you're bringing up the scientific breakthroughs there, Noel, because as we're going to find, recent research is making this question of animal-human communication more and more fascinating with each passing year. So, is it true? Can we actually speak not just at, but with other animals?
Hopefully.
Here are the facts. I mean, it's a fascinating question, right? And the first thing we have to point out is that humans are themselves technically animals.
For sure. And also the concept of communicating with animals seems very like anthropomorphizing and human-centric. You know what I mean? Just like on a very basic level. It implies a very, Homo sapien-centric view of the animal kingdom, which just doesn't seem to always hold, because communication is for all kinds of things and can be very species dependent and very environment dependent. And since we've kind of evolved away from a lot of those things being as crucial, I just feel like we're kind of in a little bit of an island in terms of what that communication would even feel like. I don't mean to poo-poo the idea. I do think there are probably breakthroughs coming that could bridge that gap, but yeah, I don't know. It seems a little selfish to think that dogs or cats or orangutans even give a shit about what we think.
It's anthrocentric for sure, and I agree with that. It's because part of it is because humans just happen to be the animals we know the most about, because humans like asking questions about what it means to be human. And amid all the animals, if we put the anthropocentrism aside, humans do appear to consistently have some of the most sophisticated cognitive skill sets, abstract thought, object permanence, tool making, empathy. Your results may vary.
Metacognition being a big key part of that too.
Thinking about thinking. And science now agrees these and related traits are by no means unique to humans. It was something that was taught in school pretty often, human exceptionalism. It seems that despite sharing these traits across various organisms, humans themselves are overall the most advanced in these pursuits, depending, again, to your excellent point, how you look at it. Another issue is that humans and animals have been doing little team-ups since people started peopling, and then probably before then, before modern Homo sapiens, the ancestors, the predecessors of the Homo sapiens were befriending, dogs. Well, wolves that they turned into dogs.
Well, yeah, and there's had to have been interaction between human and animal, as you're saying there have been for so many different reasons, right? So there's been this history of humans hearing the calls of various types of animals, right? And then attempting to use language to communicate something to those animals. And and as you said, we were mentioning canines here, we've had some success in getting canines to at least understand in some part, like a single word or a couple of words strung together or something like that. And you could do that with other animals like New Caledonian crows and a bunch of other, apes that we've interacted with and other creatures. But like that thing, it's still missing there to be able to, the feedback, right, from one to the other. Just because you can command a dog to do something doesn't mean that dog can fully, give you a response.
Right. And just like someone singing along to a Sublime song in Spanish and not speaking Spanish doesn't mean you understand what you're saying. You're mimicking speech rather than participating in conversation. And a lot of this does go back to domestication. It's worth mentioning. We have a series about the domestication of dogs on Ridiculous History. Check it out. Domesticated types of animals are actually quite rare in the grand scheme of things. The alpaca, the sheep, the cow, the pig, etc. All the hits. And then again, cats, you're a bit of an exception. You just showed up. You literally just walked onto stage. And we also talked previously in a conversation about plants that domestication is perhaps more of a two-way street than a lot of humans like to admit, because certain animals and plants, you could argue, have themselves, have themselves affected the course of human evolution. I mean, it's endlessly fascinating. And it's also incredibly difficult, to your point, Matt, to prove how the first human-animal interactions that led to domestication began. We have good guesses. We're probably right. But
somebody caught a wolf, right? That's what happened.
Caught wolf pups and increasingly tamed them. Yep. So the best analog for that is going to be, of course, the infamous fennec fox experiments over in Russia, where they found that you can take a wild animal, ethics aside, over time, you can breed it to become increasingly open to human interaction in a nonviolent way. And when you are domesticating these types of animals, the one thing that I think surprised a lot of people is that they tend to keep juvenile features as they grow up, right? That's why wolves can look like serious, hard case customers, but you might have a Shih Tzu that is kind of like a baby for the entirety of its life.
Very strange.
I don't know if it's fair to them. You ever see certain dogs and you think, man,
they don't look like they're having a good time. Like, dude, weird breathing problems and snot and stuff. I mean, little Apollo is like what you consider a purebred miniature poodle, or toy poodle, and has these tear stains that like around the eyes that sort of like, I don't think it bothers him, but the eyes just get really, really crusty. And I do sometimes wonder, is this a product of, or is this just a dog thing? I don't know. But
yeah, there's a Shih Tzu in my family that is just adorable, but is a companion dog rather than what we would call a function dog, like a hunting dog or a guard
retriever,
dog. Yeah. And I've been hanging with that guy for a number of years. He was probably my mother's favorite kid for a while before she passed on. But but these traits have been purposely created by humans over time, and they're not just physical, they're not just cosmetic. Communicative traits have been encouraged too. And even if we don't know how the grand story began, like I said, we've got some pretty good guesses. And one thing that was interesting, I think, to all of us in the research is some people will even today tell you that it was the intervention of the Anunnaki that led to domesticated animals. So along with agriculture and fire and writing.
Dun, dun. The Anunnaki return. I love it. It's not on you, man. It's just the course of human civilization. Yeah.
I think Enki came down with some of that toxoplasmosis, and that's how we got cats, dude.
That's what I'm saying, man. Talking about the perfect organism. I mean, they literally can infect you and cause you to do their bidding. Cats,
yeah,
that is.
baby.
Mm-hmm. And toxoplasmosis is a fascinating example of symbiosis too, right? Or a parasitic relationship, especially when you look at how it affects some types of humans differently than others. Like the general rule of thumb with toxoplasmosis gondii is that female identifying women who are infected will tend to be more promiscuous, and that the dudes in the crowd who get infected will tend to have like mental issues down the road. That's the idea.
That's what it did to me, I think. I'm not sure.
Did you ever get tested? Did you actually?
No, I've never been tested, but I've had many a cat in my life, and I was a wee boy, so I imagine that it seeped in from somewhere.
It has to have. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to derail this at all, but like that is real, right? I mean, obviously it's real in terms of like being tested, but does it? Like what are we meant to be doing if infected with this?
That's a great question.
Yeah, it changes behavior. So we can't totally blame this on the cat, but it changes behavior such that it's easier for toxoplasmosis gondii to reproduce. That's what parasites are all about. Ultimately, it's changing behavior so that it can make more of itself and then get to other things in its life cycle.
Okay.
That's why I eat so much hot sauce, guys, to hopefully flush out the Gandhi.
Yes.
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 And we didn't even know about the effects of this organism on human cognition until 1947. And severe congenital toxoplasmosis can lead to some like very gnarly stuff. But anyway, that is maybe on a positive note, that's a communication aid with your cat. But the idea of equal peer-to-peer human-animal communication is a real bag of badgers. Like you were saying, Matt, some animals and humans definitely communicate because all animals communicate on some level if we're defining that as action and response. So your cat meows. Cats also meowing in general is another very weird thing. Your dog knows how to signal your concerns. Like Meadow knows how to get the message across to Matt. And
she says, "Give me food" in dog, and it's very clear.
It's quite explicit. Apollo does the same. My old buddy Ed was very good at it too, because German Shepherds are quite clever. But I was thinking about it. We could kind of also argue that every animal communicates with humans. A tiger is effectively communicating displeasure by, murdering
Eating
humans.
your face, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The exact same way that all of our cats will eat our eyeballs the moment we die.
Yeah.
Dogs will too.
Yeah, that's true. I think it'd take the dogs a little longer, though. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
I like to think that.
But ultimately, the coolest thing about that's very funny, guys. But just taking it to that tiger, the tiger is communicating so much in its body language, right? That's one of the things we talked about with animals.
Slinking around like a boss. Yeah.
Those little things.
Scent.
And sometimes like a small sound that is not the same sound that's an alert sound that you would hear. And there's all kinds of really interesting hunting things that like cats do, right? When you imagine them mimicking the birds and doing that fun stuff by the window. There's stuff going on there. But again, it's up to us to figure out what the hell it really means or what is actually what the thoughts are that are linked to that action.
I have a real problem with my cat Vanessa because it's a male cat named Vanessa, seems to only know how to communicate through incessant, repetitive, noisy meowing, and I often don't know what he wants, and he doesn't make it clear. He'll meow, meow, meow to come inside, then immediately meow, meow, meow to go outside. It's not food time. I'm giving him pets. I'm perplexed as to, is he just trying to torture me and wreck my sanity? Like, what do you want, you devil spawn?
Or it's just open remarks.
Possible commentary. Yes, exactly.
Well, we're going to get into it further in the episode, but there are some folks out there working on getting you answers, Noel. Specifically you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about some pretty fascinating science when we explore these concepts, because animals do communicate through scent, through marking territory. Insects have really creative communication abilities, like the fact that certain bees communicate directions by, not dancing for each other. That's
waggling their little bee butts. Right?
Yeah. Yep. Twerk your way to, like, forget GPS. We have bees twerking. That is how they talk.
It's, what is the flag thing?
Semaphore.
It's like semaphore, right? But with butts?
But with butts, finally, the time has come. That was the only problem with semaphore.
Yeah.
And birds, of course. Anyway, it goes on and on. This is the crux of our episode. Aside from communication overall, what about speech? Can you, as a human, not just talk at or to animals, but can you speak with them? Here's where it gets crazy. Yes. Good news. Yes. Asterisk, caveat, fine print.
Yep.
Yeah. All the things we've mentioned previously probably being contained within that asterisk.
So first, to be clear, by talking with, we mean holding a conversation. Like you were saying there, Matt, that's not the same thing as your favorite non-human animal knowing a few of your vocalizations, what we would call words, like the name you use for them. Apollo, come here, boy. Or key phrases like walk or treat or sit. Or, if you got weird commands, maybe you just say Norway and the dog knows that means to spin around in a circle.
Yeah, or mach schnell to your Doberman.
What does that do?
Yeah, I mean, apparently a lot of neo-Nazis train their attack dogs with German commands.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a new way to profile dogs. I feel really bad about it, but I do it too. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I trust this dog. It does know German.
Oh, jeez.
But that's more like, I don't trust the owners. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we're all very pro-dog here.
There was a really interesting study coming out of the University of Geneva last year about dog-human communication in those respects, and about those singular words, or commands that you're talking about there. And it was amazing. They connected the EEGs up to both dogs and humans, like pairs, as they're talking and communicating and wanting things from each other. It was so cool to see how it's almost as if humans and canines are on different speeds, if that makes sense, when it comes to how much, like, you and I, and we can all understand per minute, and then how much a dog can understand per minute, and then why those commands are so effective when it's only one or two syllables that occur to make a thought happen or a concept occur. It's really interesting stuff, but then it makes you think about, well, how, when we're communicating to our canine in that way, and then it is communicating back to us in pretty similar phrasings and similar repeated sounds, like the barks, if you think about those.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not a bunch of different types of barks occurring at once. It's like bark, 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 bark.
Well, that's clearly Morse code. I mean, come on. Just saying.
Well, but just to put out there, it's very interesting when we're thinking about communication in this way, and our effectiveness thus far as humans talking with animals. Like, that's probably as close as we've come, outside of some bird species that can mimic and repeat, right? But some of that's a little different. And then, of course, some of the primate studies where you can actually communicate often with sign language and things like that.
Yeah, or appear to communicate via sign language. Yeah, well, we got to get into it. So the anthropocentrism point is something we're going to return to time and time again, because it's more fair to say that human animals have different modes of communication than that of other animals. If you think your dog is dumb because it doesn't understand what you're saying about the gold standard in the 1800s, well, guess what? Fido thinks you're pretty slow too in terms of dog language. It's like, this guy, I've known this guy for 3 years. He hasn't stiffed my butt once. You know what I mean? Like, what gives?
Yeah, come on. What's wrong with me?
It's because humans tend to prioritize sight. That is one of the big information channels through which the human experiences the world. And that's also why body language is often more important in an in-person conversation than the content of the speech. That's also why text messages can be so easily misinterpreted. Sorry to my mom and all of my ex-girlfriends. My bad.
Heard.
We can all unfortunately feel that way.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. So it's crazy because the sight thing is very common across a lot of primates, right? The parent company of the human experiment, which is why you should never, ever, under any circumstances, make prolonged eye contact with a gorilla.
Yeah, they'll rip your face off, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Your face off, right?
Yeah, even if everything is cheesecake and you have known this gorilla for years and you hang out and you share sign language with each other, don't look them in the eyes.
Because that is a very species-specific form of threat, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can we take a minute here really quickly to talk about the all the ink that's been spilled about Coco the gorilla and the sign language of it all? And like, is that really communication or is it training? You know?
Wait. Well, I don't know this. So there's like, was
Huge
it falsified?
Not that it's falsified. It's just you can train an animal with a certain level of intelligence to do a thing, but does that mean that it understands exactly what it's doing? And, you know, folks who interacted with Coco would say yes, like Flea and Robin Williams or whatever.
Yeah.
But what do you know, Ben? I just thought it would be a good time to bring that up because it's always been a head scratcher for me.
Yeah, we'll get into this in more depth as we go through some examples, but you're absolutely right, Noel. There is a huge amount of controversy about Coco the gorilla and the experiments with communication there. By the time she had passed away in 2018, people who were fans of the research and researchers involved in the project believed that she could understand something north of 2,000 spoken words in English. But as we'll go, we'll see why some other people take exception.
Didn't mean
to
scoop us on that. It's just on my mind, and I'm excited to dig more into it.
Oh, 100%, man. Right there with you. We also know that the leader of the pack, our A+ students, are, of course, dogs, because they've evolved to communicate more effectively with humans up to understanding things like pointing, right? Or even sign language. You don't always have to talk to a dog. You can do a little twirly and it'll know what you mean. They even evolved, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sure this is one of our favorite dog evolution facts. They evolved muscles, physical musculature around the eye socket to help them convey info to humans. Puppy dog eyes are a real evolutionary grift.
This is my least favorite thing because my dog, who is asleep behind me right now, very happy, very content. But when she's awake and I'm doing something and I'm busy, like sitting here at the desk researching or something, she will wink at me. She will stare at me until I make eye contact with her. Then she will wink, and she's doing it on purpose. You could tell, and I don't know what she means or why she's doing it, but it freaks me out.
I hear you, man. I also feel like I love how that's somewhat ominous.
Yes.
And I've met Meadow and she's awesome.
She is awesome, but it's this, you guys ever watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force?
Absolutely. Number one in the hood. Gee, are you joking?
Well, it reminds me of the hand banana. Like, look up that episode, the hand banana. That, for some reason, I get those vibes. It creeps me out.
I also am a little freaked out by when it feels like a dog is smiling. I think they can.
Yeah.
But is it just being, too anthrocentric?
I don't know.
It feels like they smile. And I had my last dog, Ed, a legendary German Shepherd. I feel like he had a sense of humor. I feel like he had a sense of humor because he would do something and then he would smile at me. Somebody didn't know he was supposed to. Dylan is saying smiling is often a sign of discomfort. However, Dylan has not specified whether that's a sign of discomfort for humans or for dogs. And Matt is smiling.
And it hurts. Like, I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah. And that's a cultural thing, too, throughout different human civilizations. There are some parts of the world where you just smile to avoid disagreeing with someone or saying something. I'm thinking specifically of Thailand, which has the nickname the Land of 1,000 Smiles.
Biting your tongue, right? Just bite down and smile.
Exactly. So this is crazy because the primary way a dog encounters communication in the world around it is smell. So a blind dog is kind of like a person who lost their sense of smell in that they can still get around easily in their world. But a dog without a sense of smell could be said to be similar to a blind person because their environmental interactions can be much more challenging. It's a weird way to think about it, but it's worth mentioning because it does affect communication.
Yeah, there's a group of these like gray coyotes that are back behind my house. And the only reason Meadow knows they're there is because she smells them. I can see them walking around back in the woods, but she doesn't usually see them. But then all of a sudden, you'll see her ears perk up and sniff the air, and then she gets real riled up and like, oh, basically get away from here kind of vibes. And it's only because she smelled them.
Yeah. And that's, again, there's so many facets to communication, and talking or speaking is just one very small part of that.
Well, a pretty good companion piece to this episode would be our recent discussion on pheromones and all of the ways that chemical communication, I guess, right?
100%. Yeah. And good callback. Speaking of speech and communication, we're going to pause and introduce you to some sponsors. We've returned, all to say, yes, you can sort of talk with certain animals and they can sort of understand you in that, like all the examples we named, we can generally get the gist of basic stuff. Oh, you've got to poop. Oh, you're hungry. Oh, there's some coyotes over there.
Yeah.
You know, but
yeah. Yo, did you know that there are tons of coyotes around here in Atlanta?
Oh yeah.
I had no idea. I was recently looking to adopt a pup, and the woman from the rescue situation told me about how we are just lousy with coyotes, especially in the DeKalb County area.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I love reading the reports on neighborhood pages where someone's like, have you lost a dog? Anybody in this neighborhood?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. I do have indoor-outdoor animals, and it really has made me rethink that. I actually had no idea, so good to know.
Back at the old house, they look like foxes that are way too big, and you're like, what the hell is that?
And
cryptid.
And so,
definitely a cryptid.
And so many people, you know, maybe not more familiar with the wilderness because they grew up in or reside in cities, genuinely will mistake coyotes for dogs, up to and including trying to pet them.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of the maned fox? The maned wolf.
Mm-mm.
Yes, I have heard of the maned wolf.
Dude, I discovered that thing in research for this episode, and I am fully freaked out. Look at that thing, and then imagine one that's hairless or, losing its hair for one reason or another, and then imagine a chupacabra.
Yeah, it's an anime.
It's the real
looks like a
skinny leg boy.
fox.
Yeah, skinny leg boy.
Yeah. I wish the proportion of their leg to head to torso didn't bother me so much.
I know.
YouTube
they
headline.
Look like a deer.
Yeah, YouTube headline, deer, fox, wolf. Nope.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you see footage of them walking, they look sneaky. They look untrustworthy.
Oh, yeah.
They also got like a weird black mohawk, almost like a razorback pig or something. You know?
That's the mane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. So, all right. Look, you can talk all the livelong evening to all sorts of non-human animal companions, but there's currently no real case of someone like debating the history of the Wright brothers or the meaning of mortality in the soul. No feline to date has made a hip-hop album, probably because they don't want to. But I assume, right? But for most of human history, again, anthropocentrism reigned. We were convinced this communication didn't work because animals were dumber than humans. Human exceptionalism. It's the argument that people are at the top of the hierarchy of evolution because, quote, people are just the best, the bee's knees. But it's myopic, it's convenient, it's kind of self-serving. Because humans, again, we always have to bring this up, don't really have an understanding of intelligence other than being able to function successfully in a given environment. So that means if you wake up in a mangrove swamp and there's a tiger there, technically the tiger is the smartest one in the room.
Yeah. At least for a while. But I think the thing that trips me up with this kind of discussion is just the fact of language as an invention, as a technology, as a thing, right? Because humanity did, for one reason or 1,000, create this thing. And then that thing appears to be the reason we're able to do almost everything. Everything that we do together collectively, like some big works, right? Language at least played a very large part in all of that stuff. So I think one of the biggest questions for today is, do other species, animals, especially ones that we see working together a lot, everything from, ants to cetaceans, is there a fully shared language with complexity that we just cannot grasp with our understanding, right? And with our language.
And with our hardware and our equipment. That's a big part of it. Yeah, that's why the concept of intelligence, anthropocentrically put, is so dangerous, right? Humans, despite being somewhat condescending historically to the natural world, humans also really, really want to talk with animals, like really want this one to work out. And so the human wants to feel that there's this mutual exchange of ideas and concepts. We're going to have a genuine dialogue, and that can create damning confirmation bias in otherwise really robust, rigorous research. Like we mentioned Coco the gorilla briefly there. Also, an equal shout out to Alex the parrot, who is just heartbreaking. We were talking about this a little bit off air. Noel, you remember Alex, right? The parrot?
No, I'm sorry, I don't think I do. I remember Mango. Well, who's Alex?
Mango's the snitch parrot.
Yeah. What did Alex do?
Alex the gray parrot was a subject of some controversial research about human-animal communication, and Alex sadly went viral with a quote that we had at the top of our episode here. His last known words were in English to his human partner, his bonded partner and researcher. Alex, as she was leaving, Alex looked at her and said, "You be good. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow." I know.
Never have I felt a feel about a bird before this very moment.
Well, that's the thing, too. To that earlier point we made, was he mimicking sound that he had been trained to mimic? Or was it "I want to know what love is" kind of situation? Was it what song is that?
I want to know what love is. I don't know who the artist is. I think it was a one-hit wonder, but it's a banger. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I just want you to show me.
I want you to show me.
Mm-hmm. And so these assumptions, these desires have long stymied the science. And our question is, what if that is changing? Could new research, tech, and new cooperative endeavors make our big wish of talking to animals come true? It's similar. If so, it'd be similar to what we talked about in the past with humanity literally creating superpowers and ghosts through technology, right? And you could also say, kind of to your point about language as technology, it's so important for the human experiment because it allows us to speak to the dead, right? Or to learn from the dead, pretty powerful when you think about it that way. So maybe the way that we're making all these amazing things happen now, maybe something similar will happen with animals. I don't know. I think
I've got my hopes up, Ben. I got my hopes way up. Yes. There's There's some cool stuff going on out there. All you got to do is be super, super positive about the things AI can do. That's all you got to do. Just be really excited about AI, and then there's some cool stuff coming up.
Yeah, it's a give and take for sure. I mean, we also, one thing, I'm sure we all saw this too. One thing that had a real flash in the pan moment that a lot of people were hopeful about was the idea of the paw pads, the button pads that your dog could use. And as you can tell, my cat hates these. Yeah, he hates them.
He's got feelings about this episode.
He was in the back going, he was in the back going, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's malarkey.
And also this cardinal is really giving me the old stink eye.
Yeah, this button communication craze, I think we've all seen the videos, right? Someone has their dog and they've got something that looks like an old NES power pad on the living room floor. And they're like, oh, Buster or MacGyver or whatever. Do you want to go outside? And then the dog hits a button and it's a recorded voice going like,
yes, mother, I would enjoy a evening constitutional.
Or whatever.
Is that a walk? Is that what that is?
Yes.
Going for walkies? Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's because the human partner can program and record what the buttons say, right?
Yeah, and there's some really astonishing videos out there, and people who, have been using those buttons with their canine companions for a long time, and it appears to be super effective, at least in the footage we get to see.
That's a very important point. Yeah. So you will not see unsuccessful versions of this. You'll see versions where a dog wants a treat and they walk over to the pad and they hit the button that says treat, or wants to go on a walk and it hits the button that signals walk. You could also code it to have more complex things like, hey, Cujo, do you want to go see grandmother? The idea goes, if this stuff works, the dog understands enough about what you're saying to select a yes or no answer. But then, you could alternatively say, hey, Cujo, do you want to go to the vet and get your balls cut off? And Cujo could hit a button that says, Sharon, again, your constant betrayal is ruining our relationship. Wow. Like you can just type whatever is the point.
Yeah. I mean, there have been examples that were caught on video where let's say a couple is working in their home office and there's a video that's running live downstairs where the buttons are set up and the dog goes down there and starts growling and then runs over to the buttons and hits
stranger outside, mom, stranger.
And it's like that. It's tough to argue with that kind of response where the dog is attempting to communicate something it is experiencing to its person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fully agree. And this is not, we're asking if this works. We have to remember it's not itself an original technology. This is part of what we call alternative communication tech. And it's been around for quite some time. It's been very helpful for people who have, certain levels of autism or suffer from neurological conditions or encountered a stroke. You know what I mean? In some ways, it's very, very similar to this. And I keep getting hung up on it. I think we all do. Does the dog understand the conversation taking place, or is it just showing how effective operant conditioning can be? Is it responding to you and the content of what you're saying, or is it more your body language and your smell and your intonation and the 1,000 other signals you send out that you are not aware of, but the dog clocks immediately?
I tend toward the latter. I mean, not to be a wet blanket or anything, but that kind of conditioning is powerful. And we know dogs, domesticated animals, dogs in particular, are pretty good at picking up on that kind of stuff, or they're trainable.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things that came out of that Geneva study I mentioned earlier in the episode. They did find that the patterns of stress and intonation in whatever is being said end up being one of the most important things for a dog to feel, to seem like it's understanding what's being said. So not even the words themselves as much. So like the way words are formed, but it's how you say it. When you say you want to go to see grandma, or, hey, Meadow. And like right now,
She's probably perked up.
nope, she's fast asleep. She's fine. But if I say it in that way, I know I'm going to get a response. And it's not because I've trained her to do that. It's because she knows, or she has almost like learned, right, over time, when I talk like that, something good is going to be following that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So what your dog hears is when you say, want to go for a walk, your dog hears ba ba da ba da ba. And
Yeah,
then, but if you say, do you want to go for a walk?
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's not the da 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 da. It reminds me of the excellent moment in pop music history when a spiteful Italian made a song that sounded like English.
Oh, yeah, and it was a hit, right?
It was a hit, yeah, and he pretty much did it because
How
he
do I
said,
not know about this? What was the song?
No, I think what we'll do here is, if you're okay with it, guys, let's just play a clip of it.
Oh, okay. You
Oh,
gotta find
please.
a place that we'll recognize. I don't remember the intro to this one.
Oh, yeah. I'm going past the intro where he's teaching. Okay. Formula D. Prison colonism miniatniscusio. Wow. Okay. We're not even going to spell it, but here we go.
I'm grooving hard, y'all.
Oh man. Don't sue us, Adriano and your representatives.
Yeah,
What are they
this is-
saying? What are they yelling at me about?
It's totally made up.
Oh, it's made up. Cool. Got it.
It sounds
just-
like English.
It made it up to sound like English. So if you didn't speak English, based on the intonation, you could think it's about anything, any number of positive, happy things.
Fascinating.
It's not
It's a banger.
reference-
It's a freaking
It is.
banger.
I couldn't agree more. I'm putting it on my dance party playlist.
Your certified summer gold playlist.
Yeah, we still got a few days left to maximize summer grooves.
Can I throw something in here real quick, guys?
By all means.
This is one of the words of the day, for me at least, in the research this week. Prosody. And I think I've heard us say this before on this show. Prosody. That is the, quote, patterns of stress and intonation in a language, which is exactly what that person was using to make it sound like English.
100%. Yeah. The cadence there. So
Put
the
the
argument-
right emphasis on the right syllable.
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting us to get to that, frankly, awesome reference. But it does, I do think it's a cool analog to what maybe your dog is hearing, right? Because your dog doesn't really speak your language outside of knowing a few terms.
Yes.
And it's not because at all, it's not because we're not saying dogs are dumb. Quite the opposite. They just have a vastly different tool set of communication avenues.
Yeah, and I guess, and I'm sorry I keep harping on cats. Sounds like I'm picking on them, but I sometimes wonder, do the cats not understand that cadence the same way, or do they just not give a crap?
I saw a study years back that said they like wired up some cat brains. They said the brain activity, the cognitive activity in your cat's head, when you call its name, proves that it does know you are talking to it about, like it knows.
It just chooses to ignore.
It just doesn't care.
Yeah, okay.
That's it.
Son of a.
And that does seem to be a pretty solid experiment because we have data, right, from brain scans, from monitoring. But let's say we pause for a word from our sponsors and we come back with some examples of how these experiments can go so hilariously wrong. We now introduce to the stage Clever Hands.
Oh, yes, the
smartest. Yes, the smartest of our equine friends, apparently. Early 1900s. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
He did stuff with his hoofs, with his claw. He was like a regular Mr. Ed.
But he was math based, right?
Yes,
Not
exactly.
so much.
That's right. That's
okay.
right. That's right.
Yeah. Also, the way they got Mr. Ed to quote unquote talk on that show.
Peanut
they
butter
gave him
on the
peanut
teeth.
butter.
Right?
Mhm.
So weird. No, on the gums. You wouldn't see the peanut butter, but that's what he was like eating it from the inside.
Yeah.
It's gross.
I can't believe they made a whole series that just hinged on that one idea.
Yeah. Gets in all kinds of hijinks. Clever Hans, yes, indeed. The early 1900s. For a while, everyone, including Hans's trainer, the closest human to this creature, believed that he could do maths real good. The trainer would pose math problems, and Hans would listen, and then clippity clop the answer with his hooves on the wooden floor.
Mm-hmm. And people thought that Hans was better at math than a lot of human school children. The pickle of it is, the badger in the bag here, is that people asked Hans math questions when the trainer wasn't there. And if they asked when the trainer wasn't there, this poor guy had no idea what to do. He's staring at people like, "Wait, are you going to give me a carrot or an apple or something? Or are you just gobbledygooking me?" He was not a polymath of the equine world. He was getting unconscious cues from his trainer. So without those cues, Hans didn't know what to do.
Interesting. So like the way his trainer would look would show him what the answer was, or like movements, or I don't know. It makes me wonder if Hans was just like, "You can't make me do these tricks."
Well, and again, the trainer wasn't like trying to pull a grift. I think he believed this was going on as well, and maybe did not realize he was giving the game away.
100%. That's what we suspect, because Hans would start his response to a question by tapping his hoof, and then he would notice, because horses are very observant animals, that people around him were getting more tense, as including the trainer, as he was approaching the correct number of taps. And then so you'd say like, "Hey, Hans, what's 5 plus 4? And then Hans would think about it for a second and would look like he was thinking, just kind of looking around to get to read the room. And so as he's getting closer to 8, people are leaning in,
slowing down a little bit.
And he gets to 9 and everyone's like, "Oh my God, he's done it again."
And he just stops.
Yeah. And he gets a treat. So, I mean, dogs are even better than horses at picking up those cues. And it's true that the vast majority of dog owners don't know the full extent of the signals we're communicating to our furry pals, especially smell, right? Like you could say, I think a lot of us dog lovers have had a situation where you were sad, right? You didn't say anything to your dog about it, but your dog somehow knew, and then came and like cuddled up next to you or walked up to you and whimpered or something. Have you guys ever experienced that? Like your dog seems to have clocked something about your mental state?
Absolutely. It just feels like dogs are. I think that's why people love them so much. There's a certain intuition there, and a certain ability to kind of have those types of exchanges, whether they're real or imagined. But I think any dog lover would say that they're definitely real. And again, as a relatively new dog person, I kind of feel that. So I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like I've just got a distorted lens here, but I feel like I had that with one of my cats when I was a kid. When I was feeling low, this specific cat would do the whole lay on your chest thing, but only at specific times. So I don't know. But again, that's my perception of a moment and behaviors, right? That I can't fully interpret other than how it's affecting me. So, but that's an interesting concept.
It's a tough one, right? We also, as we noted earlier, with the button pads, the paw pads, you'll see a lot of videos of dogs appearing not to just hit one button to say walk, but like you were saying, Matt, mom, stranger, outside. This would imply that they were making full sentences and phrases, right? But for right now, as much as we hate to be those folks at the party or at the dog park, the current scientific consensus is that in these situations, your pooch is not responding to the conversation, it's responding to the human behavior. It can tell you're excited, it's excited too. Oh, this is the tone that guy always uses when I'm getting a treat, So I know that I can hit this button and get a treat, but that's just conditioning.
But I do know, just as not to be contradictory, just to state that I have observed in my life doing the tone, intonation and kind of thing that we're talking about, but using a different keyword. And I think it is something at the connection between that intonation and a specific keyword or two, you know,
I see.
To where I can say, you want to go for a run? You want to go for a run? And she's like, no, I don't know what you mean. But then if I use the W word that I'm not going to use right now, because she's right behind me, she would flip out and be excited.
Okay. Yeah. I think there's definitely a trigger with some phrases and with training, right? It also reminds us of the earlier experiments with human language when I can't remember which monarch it was, but he became convinced that if you raised children without any language at all, they would naturally begin speaking the original language, the divine language, whatever that was. Yeah, it turned out, no, they didn't. Their cognitive years or their formative years were robbed of language, and life was very difficult for them. I think we did some on Ridiculous History about those folks.
Yeah, it seems to ring a bell.
Yeah. But anyhow, this gets us to the continuing research. You know, we are going to talk about some more different types of research, some initiatives, some specific experiments with specific kinds of animals, including cetaceans, elephants, birds, cephalopods, and primates. Maybe we start there, right? Because we mentioned Coco earlier, and humans are technically primates. So logically, those two things would be close enough together to maybe have the best chance of pure communication.
The hope, at least, is that the way the brains are formed, right? Our brains, their brains, there's going to be something in there that makes that magical connection of language. Hopefully, even though we have yet to observe, you know, primates with a sophisticated enough vocalization, you know, series of patterns to call it something language, right? We haven't observed it yet. But again, as you stated before, Ben, maybe we're just not fully able to pick things up in the way yet that there is communication happening.
Right.
That's why I think about some of the other animal species we're going to talk about. Like maybe we literally just don't hear them when they're talking, right? Because they can pick up different frequencies and things like that. But I think that's been tested actually in many cases, especially when we get into the whale communication. Like,
oh gosh,
could you create a whole language with that sound? Maybe.
And elephants as well. That's a trippy one too. Yeah. So, okay, we have a reasonable assumption, but an assumption nonetheless, that it might be easier to speak with primate relatives. And we know that physiologically, your average gorilla doesn't have the hardware needed in the throat and the larynx to create the vocalizations that humans use in language, or to create all of them. So why not use sign language? And did you ever have that moment where you realized that different languages have different versions of sign language as well?
No, I didn't know that, I don't think, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it weirded me out. I was very proud of learning some ASL, not with fluency, and I couldn't wait to show it off. And the person I talked to, who was very nice, hipped me to the fact that, no, you're just sort of doing a hand version of yelling at someone in English after they told you they don't speak English. You know, the classic tourist thing. What if I ask louder? So, we're in that situation with a lot of primate communication stuff, because the idea there is we can still count it as talking if we're communicating in sign language. And that's where you see those amazing clips like the ones you were describing, Noel, with Robin Williams meeting Coco, and who else was it? Mr. Rogers?
Mr. Rogers, also Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I don't know why that makes sense.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, wasn't Jane Goodall involved in a lot of that, or was she just a part of it on the side? And I just have a memory of her?
I don't recall if she was Coco adjacent. She's definitely like Gorillas in the Mist adjacent.
Okay.
But maybe so. I mean, she certainly would have been aware of Coco.
Yeah. Yeah, she would have to have been aware. So Coco gets this huge amount of scientific interest and the spotlight because her sign language is seen by her supporters as not just exhibiting empathy, but also being capable of doing things like arguing or creatively conveying concepts by making new word phrase groups, right? So it's a big indicator of language if you have, let's say, you have two separate symbols. One of them is for trash and one of them is for cat. And then you show this gorilla a raccoon. And instead of saying, what's that? It says, oh, trash cat.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That makes sense. Also known as trash panda.
Also known as trash panda. Yeah, man. So that's the idea. But the issue, again, with Coco became that perhaps the humans who had bonded with this gorilla and with other gorillas in similar experiments, perhaps they were just kind of hearing what they wanted to hear, or perhaps they were just sort of like setting someone up to respond for a treat or affection or something like that. And it's heartbreaking to know that's a controversy because those videos are just so heartwarming.
They are, but it's also a powerful thing. Like confirmation bias can be a real powerful thing. And Matt, to your point about Jane Goodall, she did meet Coco one time and looked at Coco as a confirmation of what she had long believed about these primates, that they were sentient in that way. I mean, of course they're sentient, but they were communicative and had the ability to connect on a direct level. Yeah. And when Coco passed away in 2018, Jane Goodall said, "Coco, you taught us much about the gorilla intellect and you were much loved. You will be missed." And then it says in this Instagram post, "Though Dr. Goodall only had the chance to meet Coco once, her interaction remains a remarkable one for Jane, and all Coco taught us will live on. As Jane studied chimpanzees, the insights of Coco's life as a gorilla with tremendous communication skills were essential in understanding more about great apes, and she lived as a reminder of what Jane had always believed, that we are not so different from the rest of the animal kingdom." So I'm not saying she was wrong. I'm just saying, like, when you work towards something your whole life and then you see something that confirms that, it's easy to want that thing to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just remember Jane Goodall's work spanned so much, right? And there's so many interesting things. I recall her looking at chimpanzees like early on in the, it was 70s, maybe
Absolutely.
60s, 70s, when chimpanzees were being first taught like language, sign language, and then this concept that potentially they could understand written language and the written word, that was always the big one for me. Like, could a chimpanzee or, any great ape read a sign and understand what it says? And when you see some of that stuff, you just realize, oh, well, maybe there is the capacity for at least written language, even if you don't have the hardware, right? To make the sounds, maybe you could write.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Similar to those other assistive technologies that have been used for people with strokes. Could you just make it, like, if the mind is already working and capable of doing that, capable of functioning at that level, then we just need to get it the right toys and the right tools. And that's pretty amazing if true. Also, I've got to give a shout out here as we're wrapping up part one of this exploration. I've got to give a shout out to everybody who owns a husky who heard us say arguing is indicative of communication, because huskies are crazy argumentative. Yeah. Huskies will just not stop. They got a lot of sass.
Meadow's still asleep, by the way. I just did that. She's still asleep.
Because she knows it was you.
Yeah.
If you get a real husky in there, no, she'd smell it first.
Yep.
But with this, guys, we're kind of pausing in media res. We haven't gotten to cephalopods or SETI or a couple of other organizations we want to talk about, or even birds or elephants. It keeps going. Cetaceans, whales, dude.
Cool. Let's give everybody a little bit of homework if you choose to do it. You're not going to get a grade on this, and you're not going to, get in trouble if you don't do this, but just have some homework if you want to in between this episode and the next part that comes out. Look up something called the Earth Species Project and something called Project Cetacean Translation Initiative. Check those out and see what you think about them, because we're going to have a whole conversation about those and other animals and the attempts to get humankind to be able to not only understand what animals specifically are vocalizing, but also to be able to re-vocalize to those animals.
Right. To speak with, to meet them where they're at.
Yes.
Linguistically. And this is an exciting time to be alive and to learn about this research, folks. We can't wait to hear your animal anecdotes. You have come to the right place. You can always send us cat pictures, dog pictures, pet pictures. We love it. Tell us your weirdest situations with animal communication, and please tune in the near future for chapter 2 of Can We Actually Talk to Animals? In the meantime, you can call us on a telephone. You can send us an email. You can find us on the line.
Yes, indeed. Find us at the handle Conspiracy Stuff, where we exist on Facebook with our Facebook group. Here's where it gets crazy. On X, FKA, Twitter, and on YouTube with video content for you to enjoy. On Instagram and TikTok, however, we are Conspiracy Stuff Show.
You can also call us. Our phone number is 1-833-STDWYTK. Turn those letters into numbers, you'll figure it out, and then you'll find yourself in a voicemail system. You'll hear somebody's voice. We know it's Ben. And you'll hear some sounds like some music, and then leave your message. You've got 3 minutes, say whatever you want. Give yourself a cool nickname, and let us know in the message if we can use your name and message on the air. If you would instead like to send us an email, you sure can. We are
the entities that read each piece of correspondence we receive. Be well aware, yet unafraid. Sometimes the void writes back. And just for the vibe check now, folks, if you email us looking for a random fact, it's probably going to be animal related, at least for this week. I just think we got super into this one. Conspiracy at iHeartRadio.com.
Stuff They Don't Want You to Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.